Welcome, friends,
to the How-To Heretic.
I'm Uncle Mark.
And I'm Uncle Dan.
And I'm Uncle Doug.
And this is your user's guide to life on the outside.
That's right. Leaving religion is your first step into a larger, better world.
But it can also be a scary world. Things work differently now.
Never fear. That's why we're here.
We're your audio uncles. And with help from good friends and experts in all sorts of fields.
We're going to share the stories and seek the knowledge to build a great life.
After all, you only get one that we know of, so you'd better make the most of it.
Uncles,
Hello.
Hello.
what a day of jubilee.
Yes, indeed.
Uncle Doug, I'm glad to see you. Who's
Yes.
your friend that you brought?
That looks like me, but older and sadder.
Yeah.
As if that were even possible.
Seems like it couldn't be, but it is.
Yeah, Doug just had a big sad birthday, one of his last, so
God willing.
everybody send a remembrance. Well, it's great. We're here in the studio together
Yeah.
for
All
the first
three
time.
of us for the first time in a while, and the last time in also a while.
Yeah. this is the
Maybe the last time this year.
First time in 5 months or so? And
Yeah.
maybe the last time this year that we're all looking at each
Really?
other.
You could be gone till December?
Yeah, I'll be gone till Christmas.
Jesus God.
Yeah.
right.
And we will be saying Merry Christmas, I'll tell you what. But so here we are. Let's enjoy this time together.
Yeah.
We have at last an in-person event. I hope the sound reflects that.
Yeah.
And the banter and the repartee.
Yeah, I thought that we could take visual cues from each other for the
I know.
first time in 5
Look at
months.
this, you guys. I'm
I know.
flipping you off.
We've been very physical in the studio today. It's quite
have
funny.
been.
So,
Yes, exactly.
so Doug, what are you going to talk about?
I'm going to
today?
start us off talking about the martyrdom of a man whose religion we still live under the shadow of. here in Utah.
The untimely death of kind of a piece of shit.
Yeah, the not unexpected demise
Yes,
of a
the
pretty terrible
fully
person.
predictable bad ending to a bad guy.
Of a guy whose name indicates that he would be as generic as he could be, but he was a maverick, I tell you.
Yeah, he
That's
was.
right. And we're going to have a little. I'm not going to spoil it for you guys. We're going to have a little watercolor section.
Sure.
That
sure.
and dear listeners, for once, nobody dies in what I'm talking about. So so trigger warning.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm going to get positively evangelical.
Yeah.
I'm going to proselytize
Knock on some doors.
about some things, and
Right
we'll take it from there.
Well, it's a hell of a show. I hope you enjoy. If you don't,
Do we have a sponsor this week?
oh, who's sponsoring us this week? I think this week we are being sponsored by.
Kraft macaroni and cheese.
No, it's actually the
That's next
Chrysler Sebring.
Oh,
The rollout of the Chrysler Sebring. which
I'm
is a
excited about that.
Pretty exciting time for all of us.
The Etzel came knocking, but we already had a car sponsorship.
Yeah,
so.
and it's available in a soft and a hard top.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm hoping for the convertible.
Yeah,
when
Chrysler
when
definitely
I get
wanted me to
mine.
say that. So
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks to Chrysler and all our patrons who actually fund this show. And without further ado, let's move on. Well, Uncle Dan,
Yes.
uh,
I want to sing a hymn.
I want it. Well, I believe it's now called a them. We're not going to do that. We're not going to play like that on this show.
Sing a they.
It's a they.
Yeah, no fucking gender conformity around here. I mean, look, if you could see the three of us, you'd understand what I'm talking about.
It's true.
No, yes, we should sing a hymn. We should sing praise to the man
Yes.
because it is coming up on the holiest day.
Yes.
Here in Utah.
Here in Utah, although nothing to do with Joseph Smith, Utah does celebrate the 24th of July
Yes.
as the day when the Mormons finally left the United States of America and entered this valley
That's right.
here in Mexico.
Well, and the fact of the matter is that July is akin to Mormon Ramadan. So, dear uncles, because the three of us managed to escape from a particular cult religion.
If only the Mormon Ramadan was abstention from fireworks.
That's right. Those of you not living in Utah don't understand. In your world, the 5th of July is when all the fireworks have been expended.
Yeah.
In our world, they're just getting going.
It just continues the whole month. It's
Yeah.
nightmarish.
Yeah.
I like it.
Well,
I don't have dogs. I like it. I don't know.
Yeah, if you have animals or veterans in your house, it's not very cool.
Yeah. That's true.
Or an American school child,
Right.
Or Mark.
Yeah, or me. I'm a little gun shy.
But, the three of us managed to escape a particular cult, and for
Which
reasons
one?
unknown to man, we've stayed well inside its event horizon.
Yes, indeed.
We spent a lot of time on this podcast talking about our experiences in it, our lives outside of it, and, the experiences we had when we were in it. So I thought I would go full Marvel Universe on y'all and do a 2-part segment with a cliffhanger about 2 of the inciting incidents in the Mormon faith that happened many years ago, but that happened this time of year. And one is the aforementioned Mormon Exodus,
Okay.
which we'll talk about next time. But today I'd like to talk about
The other one is the ascension of Super Del Shanze to the governorship. I just can't leave him alone. I love him so much.
I might do that on my birthday.
Yeah.
So the other one we're going to talk about today is the assassination of Joseph Smith, which happened in June of 1844. So without further ado, let's get into it. Here we go. Part 1, the assassination of Joseph Smith.
Part the first.
Yeah.
As we talked about previously on this show, Joseph Smith was born in 1805 into poverty in a region of New England known as the...
Burned over district.
That's right.
I did one.
Wait, was it New England?
Well, he was born in Vermont.
Oh.
But, he lived most of his life in New York and then died in Carthage, Illinois.
Yeah. He picked all the best states.
Exactly. So
I don't know why you're shitting on Vermont, New York, and Illinois, but that's okay.
I don't know why you're not.
the district was known as the Burnt Over District because of the frequent conflagratory religious revivals that swept through the region. And yes, conflagratory is the word of the day.
Yeah, well done.
Thank you.
Well, it's my safe word, so this is no fun anymore.
Not wishing to live out his days in the hopeless penury that plagued his family and all those families around him, as a teenager he engaged in various schemes and grifts to better his station in life. These were all failures.
Yeah.
And in what would turn out to be a fatal pattern in his life, only served to enrage his neighbors and land him in legal trouble. So, due to the fact that the area was also dotted with mysterious stone mounds left by some lost native population, folklore had it that in some of them thar hills that might contain gold.
Were they lost?
Go!
Or, oh, God. Oh, sorry. I'm slow on the prospect
Literally, Doug signaled to the room.
I thought that we were going to do the prospector on conflagratory. But were the natives of the area really lost, or were they replaced?
They were,
Well, of course they were replaced.
They were asked gently to move along.
Right.
Yes.
So,
But yes, treasure.
most famously, Joseph engaged in treasure hunting by methods such as divining and stone looking, again resulting in nothing but resentment and litigation. Purely by coincidence, this treasure hunting grifter in an area of historic religious credulity discovered a golden book in his backyard that he couldn't show anybody.
Yes.
And founded a religion. And so, in 1830, in Fayette, New York, the Church of Christ, soon to be referred to as the Mormon Church.
Basically, it's L. Ron Hubbard with buckled shoes.
Right, exactly. Soon to be known as the Mormon Church was born, and that's why 189 years later, a state in the desert Southwest ended up with 2 of the most cowardly and feckless senators to ever cast a shadow, but that's a story for another day.
It's a straight line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, of the many, many religious movements to make a go of it at this time and place, Mormonism caught fire. The main reasons for this were the fantastical claims and raw charisma of its leader. Joseph was tall, by all accounts pretty handsome, charming and magnetic, and although he was unschooled, he did have an impressive grasp of the Bible and turned his lack of letters into an advantage by blending folksy charm with a preacher's zeal. So, would a grifter give up his grifting now that he was the head of a passionate and growing movement? Go ask Donald Trump about that. After all, grifter's going to grift. So, as Joseph's power grew, so did his astounding deception and dishonesty. The first of which was his sexual predation. In a stretch of lechery, adultery, pedophilia, and manipulation that can only be described as Epsteinian, he brought young
We
vulnerable...
nearly slandered Albert Einstein there. That was a very close shave.
Same thing.
Yeah.
He brought young vulnerable women into his home as wards, only later to rape them, sent his friends and devotees on mission so he could fuck their wives, and told all of them that Almighty God had mandated this and they would risk eternal hellfire if they told anybody.
Yes.
So, I mean...
And when we say flaming
Bingo.
sword, it is not a euphemism.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. He also engaged in every financial chicanery under the sun. Everywhere the Mormons would go, they would set up their own banking system and currency system with Joseph or his friends and family as bank or treasury president.
Yeah.
He took loans from banks with church assets as collateral and then defaulted and or skipped town. He used his position as prophet to secure loans from members of his own church and then walked away from those debts as well. It was said that Joseph Smith was subject to criminal actions and or arrest between 30 and 42 times in his life.
Amazing golf hadn't been invented yet.
I know. There's
The pattern would be totally perfect.
It's true. And lastly, the Mormons as a whole did not do themselves any favors.
By the way, golf had long since been invented.
Yeah, I don't care. Yeah, you're getting really facty on this show, and I'm really over it.
Did you push your glasses up? Actually,
I don't know if you know this, but they used to use feathers in the balls.
There's a lot of truth shaming going on here, and I don't care for it. I'm again it.
the Mormons themselves didn't do any favors with the communities they lived in the midst of. Once the church began coalescing into cities like Kirtland, Ohio, Independence, Missouri, and eventually Nauvoo, Illinois, they would use their lockstep votes to elect judges and officials. They would pass or abolish regulations and run local businesses out of town. There is no justification or excuse for the violence that they were soon to suffer, but not only were the Mormons not innocent bystanders, they oftentimes returned violence with violence, and in some cases drew first blood. And then, not to mention the fact that they had their own militia of 5,000 men called the Nauvoo Legion. So, all of this leads us to 1844, and most of what follows comes from Fawn Brody's fantastic book on the life of Joseph Smith, No Man Knows My History, which is worthy of its own segment sometime. The Mormons had been kicked out of Ohio and Missouri and had founded their own Zion on the banks of the Mississippi River in Illinois. However, because of the aforementioned crimes and misdeeds, the Mormons in general, and Joseph in particular, had left a trail of angry, embittered people in their wake. So, it was into this lake of kerosene that Joseph was about to toss a road flare. Because of all the crimes he committed up to this point, the best was yet to come. Several recently excommunicated Mormons bought a printing press and published what would be the first and only edition of the Nauvoo Expositor.
Yes.
This paper laid out in brutal detail the sexual predation of Joseph, his brother Hiram, and several other members of the Mormon Church. Up until that point, they had managed to kind of keep a lid on polygamy. But this,
yeah, it's very strange how well guarded this secret
it was the worst kept secret, but it was still kind of a secret.
You know what else is also very strange? When we talk about the power of the press, I always think of it as just like sort of, good reporting can lead to powerful things. Back then, if you had an actual physical printing press you printed something onto it, people were like, damn, this might be important.
That was the information.
Yeah.
Yes. That's where information came
It's so funny because now if someone hands me a printed thing, I'm certainly not going to just
It's usually a Hare Krishna.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, but remember, we had just, a few decades before this time, fought a revolution specifically for the freedom of the press.
Yeah.
Like, this was a big deal in America at that time, in that place. So, this newspaper...
it's hard to, what I'm getting at is it's hard to overstate the importance of a printing press and the things that were printed.
And the power that gave.
Exactly. And so, therefore, Joseph felt like this thing could destroy the entire house of cards. So he declared the newspaper fake news and a public nuisance. And then on June 10th, he led a mob that broke into the building and destroyed the press.
Was he? Oh, he was there. He was present?
Yeah, he was present.
I didn't realize that.
Yep. And again, it's hard to overstate how big shock to American sensibilities was destroying a press at that time. It's crazy. So warrants were issued for Smith's arrest. So Joseph declared martial law in Nauvoo and called up the Nauvoo Legion.
Oh, geez.
Things were about to get fucking real. So Illinois Governor Thomas Ford traveled to the county seat of Carthage, several miles from Nauvoo, to try and prevent a war. The governor guaranteed Smith's safety and a fair trial, and at first Joseph and Hiram tried to flee across the Mississippi River. However, when they realized that such a cowardly act, because it was a cowardly act, they were abandoning their flock.
Yeah.
They realized that the cowardice of that act.
Yes, and that check that on the bingo card.
Yeah, exactly.
Like leader fleeing in the night once it gets hot.
They kind of realized that this act might bring the church down in and of itself. So they returned back across the river and rode towards Carthage to turn themselves in. So various accounts have it that Joseph said, quote, "If my life is of no value to my friends, it is of none to myself. And I am going like a lamb to the slaughter, but I am as calm as a summer's morning. I have a conscience void of offense towards God and towards all men. I shall die innocent, and it shall yet be said of me, he was murdered in cold blood."
Okay, Bullshit.
What a passive-aggressive drama queen.
Well, but also, like, that sounds like somebody wrote it after the fact.
doesn't it? Just a
Yes,
little.
that he knew
Yeah.
he was going to his martyrdom
Yeah,
for sure.
you know what? You're right. That totally smacks of a.
Because what he was really saying was, oh, fuck, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do?
Totally.
Yeah, and then everybody asks after the guy's murdered. They're like, "What did he say when he was being dragged to jail?"
I go but for the morning.
Right.
Yeah, totally stupid.
Tell us, Martin Harris or whoever it was that was in the room with him.
John Taylor. We'll
John
get to
Taylor,
that.
that's
right.
what it
Yeah.
was.
So now in custody in Carthage, Joseph and Hiram were charged with treason for declaring martial law, which was a capital offense. So this is it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Treason.
Well, yeah, because they were
Oh, yeah, they called up a
called
mob.
up an insurrection.
A mob,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. So they were held on the second floor of a small jailhouse and were allowed visitors.
Treason used to get you in jail in this country. Huh?
Those were the days.
Weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got that sorted out, though. We got that ironed out.
That's goofy.
Right. They were held on the second floor, and they were allowed visitors. One of them smuggled in 2 guns to them, a single-shot pistol and a repeating 6-shooter called a pepper box.
It's always good to have a gun in jail.
Yeah.
I like having those.
It's also well
And
accounted.
also, if you're certain God's going to protect you,
Right. Exactly.
you might as well have that protection in the form of a couple smuggled guns.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's pretty certain accounts that they were also drinking wine in prison, which to anyone who's a nevermo, who gives a shit. But to Mormons, that's a big deal because
Did Martin Harris smuggle it in his ass? Like, how did they get into prison?
Well, it was pretty lax. They were just kind of being held. It was because, again, remember the governor was trying to prevent a war,
Right.
So he didn't want to punish or treat Joseph Smith badly, but he definitely had to get Joseph under custody.
Yeah, and I've been there. It's it's really a bit more of a guest house than it is.
Yeah,
a
exactly.
Prison. Yeah.
So Joseph sent on June 26th, pardon me, Joseph did send for the Nauvoo Legion to come and rescue him, but for reasons forever unknown, that order was not carried out. So we don't know why. Now or to it.
Probably because Brigham Young folded it up, put it in his pocket.
Exactly.
And
Joseph.
I'll get to this in a bit.
June 27th, 1844. In the room are Joseph, his brother Hiram, John Taylor, who would go on to be the 3rd president of the church after Brigham Young, and a dude named Willard Richards, pardon me. So in late afternoon, a mob of about 200 men rushed the jail. Their faces were painted black with wet gunpowder to obscure their identities. The mob was made up of a hodgepodge of disaffected Mormons, jilted lovers, and various others that Joseph had wronged over the last several years. So
Can I just say, if you're gonna mount a mob execution,
yeah.
smearing your own face with
Explosives?
seems like a bad idea.
Nobody said they were a good mob.
Yeah, this was a shitty mob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
We're not a very good mob, to be honest.
And, the fact that a kind of a tyrannical character will get their comeuppance is really the only reason I get out of bed every day. So as they approached the jail, the guards, the Carthage Greys, fired their guns up in the air so they could later say that they had tried to stop the mob, and then they got out of the way.
Oh.
Oh no, we'll save you.
Yeah, exactly.
Boom, boom, boom.
Half the mob rushed up the stairs while the other half began firing at the second-story windows from outside. The 4 men...
They didn't see. They're not a good mob. They didn't work that out. It's like, hey, guy, we're going up the fucking stairs. Stop! Don't.
Exactly.
Yeah. They didn't plan this
It's
out.
not. Yeah, it's called a mob for a reason. So, the 4 men inside tried to barricade the door, but someone outside shot through the door and hit Hiram right in the face. Apparently, as he fell backward, he cried out, "I am a dead man," which is a strange thing to say. But indeed, he was
through the holes in your face.
Right.
As last words go, it's damned accurate.
right. He was dead before he hit the floor.
Yeah.
So the mob fought the door open an inch or two and pushed the barrels of their guns through and fired. Taylor and Richards tried to beat the barrels down with 2 hickory canes they had. Joseph took out the pepper box and kind of blindly fired it into the hallway. 3 barrels misfired, but 3 shots found targets, wounding 3 of the mob.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. Joseph then walked over to the window, apparently to try and jump out. A shot from the hallway hit him in the back, and as he fell forward out the window, 2 more shots hit him from outside. There's some dispute about his last words, but by most accounts he said, "Oh Lord, my God." However, it's unclear if this was just a declaration of desperation and pain, or if he was attempting the Masonic distress signal to try and sway some of the mob who were certainly Masons. The Masonic distress signal is, "Oh Lord, my God, is there no help for the widow's son?"
Right.
So
I'm guessing he was just like, "Oh my God!"
exactly.
Because fuck wasn't in common usage yet.
I want to read one little passage from Fawn Brody's book directly.
And a quick question: Was he wearing garments?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
No, we should look that up.
Yeah.
Wow.
Here's a quote directly from Fawn Brody's book. So this is Joseph as he gets to the window. Quote, he looked out upon the 100 bayonets gleaming dully in the murky light that seeped through the heavy storm clouds. Behind every bayonet there was a hideously painted face, and it must have seemed to him as if hell itself had vomited up this apparition.
Wow.
It's a really pretty book.
That's good writing.
Yeah, it is. So, Joseph fell hard on the ground. Once there, someone from the mob propped him up against a retaining wall, and 4 or 5 men fired into his chest.
Oh, because he wasn't dead enough yet?
That's right.
Okay.
He survived the fall in the first few shots, but this final volley killed him. One man apparently stepped forward with a Bowie knife with the intention of beheading him.
Holy smokes.
But just then the clouds parted, bathing the scene in sunlight, and the man lost his nerve. And that's actually an account that's corroborated by people in the mob.
Can I just say that when I was a young Mormon boy growing up in the Mormon church, the story that I was told was that he was shot and he went to fall out of the window, and he was shot so many times going out the window that he was shot back into
remember
the
that.
building.
Oh,
Yeah.
come on.
That's what I was told.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, there's a bunch of YouTube videos that over the years the Mormons have made about this incident, and they all disagree with each other about whether he fired the gun.
Mm-hmm.
For a long period of time, they didn't want the narrative to have him shooting the gun,
Right.
because
Yeah, they wanted to say Greedo shot first.
that's
Exactly the case.
right.
Yeah.
But the gun that he shot is in the Church History Museum here in Salt Lake City. So they finally had to kind of give up on that one.
The
Yeah.
pepper box?
The pepper box, yeah, it's in the Church History Museum over
Can
there.
you check it out like a library book?
Here it is.
Just walk around town.
You know what's funny? My dad used to work in that museum. Like I
really?
grew up in that museum all the time. And one time I was back. He was a registrar and curator.
Really?
And yeah, and I was just sort of back by his office, and I picked up a thing, and I was like, "What's this?" And he was like, "Oh, be careful with that. That is Hiram Smith's death mask."
Holy shit. The
And I was like,
actual one?
Yeah.
Wow.
I had just picked it up nonchalantly. I put it down more gently.
Did you put it on and run around like a Halloween
I did.
spook?
I was like, I'm Hiram.
Did you put it on and it kind of consumed your head?
I'm the one that didn't make anything of himself. Sorry, Ma.
Fucking Hiram slam.
Yeah, deep
Take
Hiram
that.
cuts today.
Take that, Hiram.
All right. So at this point, the mob had accomplished their task and they scattered. Joseph and Hiram lay dead. John Taylor was hit by 5 musket balls, one hitting his pocket watch, which saved his life, although that last fact is in dispute. But he was real tore up. Like, getting hit by a musket ball at close range isn't really
not good.
for you.
Yeah.
And he suffered from the injuries the rest of his very long life. And Willard Richard, the other guy in the room, somehow got through it with just a scratch on his ear. So
Boom.
5 men were tried for the murder of Joseph Smith and Hiram.
Yeah.
Pretty much they were identified because they had been shot, but were all acquitted by a jury, and ultimately no one was ever held accountable for the assassination.
Well, that's some bullshit.
They were acquitted.
Yeah.
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 Maybe just the anti-Mormon fervor was such
Yeah.
that
That's absolutely what it was. In
Yeah.
fact, the first jury that was to try them had Mormons on it, and they declared a mistrial, convened a second jury with no Mormons on it, and that's the jury that acquitted them. So,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely, that's why.
They're like, no, nothing bad happened.
Yeah.
This is not true.
So we'll talk about what happened next in part 2, cliffhanger. But the great irony of all of this, of course, is that had Joseph lived and had to face his crimes, the church almost certainly would have collapsed under the weight of all of the scandals that were about to be exposed. But his martyrdom turned an already devoted religion into a fanatical one.
So what you're saying is we need to send a mob of grease-painted monkeys into the White House. Wait.
No.
Panic! Sound effect of me running down the
Yeah,
hallway.
Cody.
quick.
Yeah. You know what to do.
Kill Dan.
It's funny because
Conflagratory.
I actually find this event in his life to be pretty compelling.
Yeah.
Like it's a very human moment to be terrified for your life and
Sure.
scraping with your fingernails for a few more seconds of life.
Yeah.
But the sanitized Joseph Smith
Yeah.
that the Mormon Church believes in now doesn't really fit into this scenario of being very willing to inflict violence. Also, everything that led to that moment,
Yeah.
all of his total sexual predation, rape, and theft, he was a monster.
Yeah.
And I would never say he got what he deserved, but He should have seen it coming.
But wait, you can't call him a monster. You called him handsome earlier.
You can be a handsome monster.
No,
Look at
no.
me.
I try not to.
Of course, if you remember, I think we talked about this on a different podcast, but all Mormons, when they went through the temple up until kind of the middle of the 20th century, were required to swear an oath to avenge the blood of the prophets.
Yes.
that's
that was
true.
Yep, that was
And that oath became a leading factor in the Mountain Meadows Massacre, which
That's right.
occurred shortly after the foundation of the Utah Territory. So
that's right.
And
So-
then eventually they said, oopsie, maybe oaths of that nature aren't the best idea.
So there you go. The death of Joseph Smith and kind of the birth of the modern Mormon church right there.
They killed him. He's killed.
Yeah.
All
yeah,
right.
no help for the widow's son, I suppose.
Nope.
So, all right. Well, let's move on.
Uncle Dan.
Hey, what?
How
What-
are ya?
What do you want?
Nothing. I just wanted to point out that we live in a wonderful, wonderful world full of wonders.
You know what it is? It's a magical world.
According to a certain point of view, it's a
think-
magical world.
It's true.
What isn't magical?
It's true. And you know, I have a wonderful thing to talk about today, and I'm glad that for once this year we're doing it together, juntos, in person,
Yeah.
in studio,
Yeah.
because Uncle Dan, I can tell you're feeling a little blue.
A
Yeah?
little blue.
A little blue. And I can tell, Uncle Doug, you're feeling
Horny.
a little puce.
Oh,
You're feeling a little puce. Now, how would I know
it
that?
can be both things.
I just don't know why you'd say horny when your brother just said, I'm glad we're all in the room together. That feels strange.
Well, it's been a while.
It's
I mean,
complicated.
It has
Yeah.
been.
So, I needed a subject this week that did not involve horrendous crimes against children and a body count. So, I went with something that absolutely does not, and it's so wonderfully stupid that I think we're all going to enjoy ourselves quite a bit. And the reason I said that you two boys are experiencing some kind of color
Yeah.
is because
Because I got a tan.
we all have color, don't we?
Well,
Well, not the three of us.
We all have color.
is pale a color?
So let's just get into it. If you guys have a friend if anyone has a friend of a certain age, maybe one that attended Woodstock, maybe burned either a draft card or a bra, or even someone with an address in Taos or Santa Fe, New Mexico, or Berkeley or Boulder, they may be maybe a little free with the colors they see in people. And no, I'm not accusing your Aunt Sunflower or Uncle Starfire of being racist, though they may be that too. These days in America, it seems racism is back and better than ever. So, but we're not talking about
They're definitely racist.
that. Yeah, they probably are. Most uncles are racist, just hopefully not us. So, no, I'm not accusing them of being racist. I'm accusing them of being silly and believing they can see something that is objectively not there. Your free love and tarot friends think every human or soul has a color, or more than one, and those full-body hippie halos are called auras.
Yes.
Hooray!
Aren't they just?
The beautiful auras. So, aura is the Greek word for breeze or breath. So that's nice, right, guys?
or the driving Miss Daisy word for the letter aura.
Aura. But the idea of a colored radiance as individual as a fingerprint, which is a little kooky since there really are only 7 prismatic colors, but I digress, is not an ancient Greek idea, not at all. It actually first vibrated into this dimension from the mind of one Charles Webster Leadbetter, a prominent fixture in the exploding esoteric spiritualist movement of the late 19th and early 20th century. Now, as you guys recall, we've talked about the weird, wonderful, and wooey esoteric movement before.
Oh, yeah.
With figures like the great beast Aleister Crowley in episode 88, and the actual little ghost tribe that Leadbetter himself emerged from when we discussed Helena Blavatsky, which is a hard word to say, but if you imagine Jerry Lewis doing it, you'll get through it. And the Theosophy movement in episode 54.
Yeah.
In short, these mostly Western people looked to what were then the highly exotic ideas of Hinduism and Buddhism from the East, took a pinch of this and a dash of that, and threw in some secret handshakes and a few funny hats, and presto, a whole bunch of wonderfully stupid stuff for future podcasters to giggle about was birthed. So, back to Leadbetter and his color thingy. We know we can take his theories for real because after he left his post as a priest in the Church of England, he studied theosophy in India Yeah, he was in the C of E.
I like it.
Yeah. Where he became enthralled by the ideas of chakras, which are also not a thing, but the idea is that they're mystical energy points in the body.
Yeah.
Ledbetter associated them all with an organ and a color. He said he could see these colors that emanated from the chakra points. And like I said before, we know we can take his ideas to the bank because he also believed that most men come from Mars, but the most evolved men come from the moon,
Obviously.
Yeah, and that hydrogen atoms were made of 6 little beings inside a tiny egg.
Take,
So
take that, whoever the guy was that wrote Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus.
yeah, I couldn't find his position on the planetary origin of women.
Right, yeah, no.
But maybe he wasn't interested because, as you may remember from our discussion about the Theosophist movement, he later had to kind of go away because of accusations that he was getting handsy with the young men. So
Check.
Yeah, check. Classic.
By the way, Moon Men, none of those Mars guys. This guy was a full-on
Quality moon man.
He wants the high quality
Yeah,
stuff.
and what Doug was just referring to with check was our often mentioned cult bingo card.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Which our wonderful listener and patron, Ivana Tinkle, created for us, and you can find it on our Twitter. We'll probably put it on the website somewhere too, so thanks, Ivana. That was super awesome.
Yeah.
So, Ledbetter shuffled off to the big Victorian drawing room in the sky in 1934, and his totally true theory of auras sat unused and unloved. That is until the New Age movement of the late 60s through the 1980s found itself needing just one more piece of unverifiable balderdash to believe in, and so auras suddenly achieved a full spectrum dominance in the world of crystal bullshit that Ledbetter could only have dreamed of.
I want Crystal Bullshit to be the name of our new band that you and I, the three of us are going to start.
I thought it should be our new sugar-free drink mix. Right?
Ledbetter's Crystal Bullshit.
So the portal to which auras rose to that prominence opened in 1977 when a Technicolor kook by the name of Christopher Hills took Ledbetter's ideas and dressed them up in a very thin veneer of pseudoscientific piffle in his book, Nuclear Evolution, The Rainbow Body. So what I love, like, every time we start digging into one of these things, it just becomes more and more wonderful by the page. So, known as the father of the spirulina nutrition fad, and branded by such a distinguished person as himself as the modern Merlin, he was also the founder of the University of the Trees, where students met in the California redwoods to learn radionics and water dowsing. So, like Ledbetter, what greater scientific authority could we have to assure us that auras are indeed real? And before you doubt such authorities as Ledbetter and the dean of the University of the Trees, there is proof auras exist, dear uncles, by way of Kirlian photography.
I was going to say.
Have you heard of Kirlian photography?
Yeah, I know that they will take your picture.
They will take a picture, that's for sure.
Tell you about your auras.
It's also known as electrophotography. So suck on that, rainbow haters. If you know any hippie girls on Instagram, I'm looking at you, Doug, you may have seen some, or you don't know them, but you surely stalk them. You may have seen some of this aura photography. You see, in the late 1930s, a Russian guy was developing a photo plate and somehow discovered that an object on that plate left a weird, glowy image if an electrical current was passed over it. Aura believers swear this is proof of auras, so shut the fuck up, they're real. Well, people who got science degrees, just not ones from the University of the Trees, have extensively tested Kirlian photography, and the very simple scientific explanation is that living things, how to put this delicately, are moist.
Yeah.
Yes, and an electrical current passing over our damp meat sleeves reacts to the moisture on and evaporating off our skin, causing the light-sensitive emulsion of photographic paper to record a faint glow. That's it. Nothing more.
Yeah. AKA, we have auras. What's hard about this?
We have moisture auras. We're just moist. That's it. So, with the only nearly scientific evidence of auras debunked, surely its devotees and practitioners could prove the reality of auras in clinical settings, and so they did. Not. In one very extensive test, 4 opaque screens were placed in a room under extremely tight clinical control conditions. Over the course of the test, 10 self-described aura seers and a control group of 9 non-aura seers were asked to say which of the 4 screens a person was standing behind.
Right.
Because their aura would extend above the top of the screen. Over 36 sessions and 1,449 individual trials, the results were what the scientists called non-significant.
Right.
Meaning no better than the odds of chance, except for the 9 non-aura seeing control group who did very slightly better than their third eye equipped test mates. So, if a mere 1,500 failures don't convince you, may I introduce none other than the amazing Randy.
Hey.
If you're unfamiliar with this brilliant wizard of rational thinking, please go back and listen to Uncle Dan's segment on Randy's brilliant debunking of the loathsome Christian scammer Peter Popoff in episode 57. You will not regret it. So Randy has made a career of flummoxing shysters and scammers like Popoff and Uri Geller, who we'll talk about another time because that guy's
Sure
fucking
will. Yeah.
ridiculous. So he invited some aura readers to come on television and prove their abilities. And because so many kooks are drunk on their own Kool-Aid, some actually agreed. So in one show, a reader was told a number of hidden positions across the room had either real humans or mannequins in them, and was asked to say which was which. She failed spectacularly when she claimed they were all human, and they were not. On another show, 5 real people were silhouetted behind screens. The reader said he could see their very individual auras as individuals' fingerprints. The subjects were asked to step out from behind the screen, and the reader was asked to place them back in the order by identifying their same auras. He got 2 out of 5, so that was 1 better than statistical chance. The always erudite Randy said, well, at least you tried. So here's a very funny little aside.
Yeah, we should pause and just say that, like, anything 2 out of 5, even 3 out of 5, it's easy for that to just be accidental.
Right.
Right.
If he had gotten 5 out of 5 and then been able to repeat that 3
There's
or 4
something
times,
there. Yeah.
then that would be a thing.
Right.
But yeah, just
No.
anything less than 5 out of 5, and you need to acknowledge that it's bullshit.
Even if it was 4 out of 5, I'd be like,
Well, that was lucky.
that's a interesting
I
parlor
don't
trick.
think
So,
you can get 4 out of 5.
Well, you know, if you do it again.
If you get, I'm saying if you get 4 people into the right space, doesn't that 5th one just automatically slot in?
I don't care for your math shaming at this point, all right? So, enough of this falderall. So here's a funny little aside. You know how it is, dear uncles, as I kind of mentioned before, when we dive into these subjects and start flipping over the stones, there's inevitably a zillion other little derp bugs scurrying around in the slimy dampness. One such critter led me to something called, and I shit you not, color puncture. Oh no. Here is the introductory paragraph on Wikipedia. And I quote, color puncture, or color light acupuncture is a modern form of acupuncture where colored lights can be used to stimulate acupuncture points to promote healing and better health. It is a form of color therapy. Here comes the sentence. Scientific support for the efficacy of color puncture is abundant.
Oh,
Whoa.
nice.
I had a glass of 2 wine, so after blinking a couple times, I decided to read that again. And yep, that's what it said. Now, I know Wikipedia is an open source encyclopedia and that shit like this happens, but I was kind of stunned nonetheless. So I screen capped the paragraph and tweeted, hey, at Wikipedia, this is some seriously dangerous bullshit. Christmas lights applied to the chakras do not cure anything. So, to my huge surprise, within about 15 minutes, listener Kavi Gupta informed me it was fixed, and he had fixed it.
Oh.
So how about that? So now if you go to the color puncture page, that's a thing, where it once said scientific support for the efficacy of color puncture is abundant, it now says there is no anatomical or histological basis for the existence of acupuncture points or meridians, and there is no scientific support for the efficacy of color puncture. So fuck yeah, Wikipedia wizard Kavi Gupta.
There you go.
Your move, big color puncture. So anyway,
You do know that you could have just edited that if you wanted to.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's the wiki part.
Oh,
We can all just sort of go.
can I
with
just
Wiki,
believe
wiki.
that was a special moment?
it. Yeah, you can. You
So-
obviously are capable of that. That's clear.
And I just wanted to say his name because it's awesome, Kavi Gupta. So,
Yeah.
at the end of all this poppycock, the odds are that anyone claiming to see auras is just lying. It's essentially a form of doing an astrology chart or any kind of cold reading. Tell someone something so vague about what their colors say, and they'll believe it. This is true. A guy once told me the burnt orange of my aura meant I was a wise old soul. Now, listeners will laugh at that since I've made it pretty clear over almost 100 episodes that I'm an eternal 12-year-old.
Yes.
But there just might be a slim chance your crazy aunt who lives in a log might not be lying to you about seeing something. I myself am a migraine sufferer, and I do experience what neuroscience actually calls visual auras.
Yeah.
Which for me are very vexing shapes and cycling prismatic colors that cause me to go partially blind for short periods, especially whenever Dan's talking. Other people have different forms of auras that may actually cause of neuroscience, psychological auras or neuromechanical auras that may cause them to believe what they're seeing is emanating from other people's bodies rather than their own brains. Another possible explanation is a very rare condition called synesthesia.
Yeah.
Where people's sensory centers are cross-wired in different ways. So some taste words and hear colors, etc. There is a condition in synesthesia where people describe seeing a very strong color association when you simply say the name of an acquaintance or show them a picture of them.
Yeah, I've heard of this. A lot of synesthetes have, numbers have colors. So the number 2 is green or the number 6 is purple. And there's going to be a synesthete who's listening right now who's like, no, 6 is green.
Yeah, that's
what
right.
are you talking about? But yes, I mean, I can
Was
see.
Jerry Seinfeld a listener of our show?
I did.
What are you talking about?
You went Ed McMahon 5 minutes ago, so I don't think you can get on me about
Ed McMahon. Sorry, young listeners, we'll get off these totally stupid references quickly. But so this particular form of synesthesia is, the whole issue is quite rare. The whole occurrence.
Right.
This is a very rare occurrence even within it. So even if one of these people thinks they're seeing auras, they are not. And outside of this vanishingly rare condition, anyone else who says they see them is lying. So don't give them money. And it's true of all psychics. Don't take life or health advice from an aura reader.
No. But maybe have some fun. You can ask them a bunch of questions. You can have some fun with it. Just
You can street epistemologize an aura reader for sure.
or just like have them tell you shit and then, see how close they get.
Yeah. Or just have a friend keep walking around with a hat on and with a hat off. Say, oh, what's his?
Change his shirts.
Yeah, change his shirts.
Well,
so that's auras, guys. It's
Orange, you glad he didn't say moist again?
Oh my God.
yellow. So bad. We've just devolved into sports and puns on this fucking show. There's no excusing any of it.
Let's move on before it gets worse.
Let's move on.
Oh, uncles.
Hello, uncles.
We, my friends, are not just doing this for our own entertainment. I, for one, am not entertained by either of you.
I don't find this entertaining
I
at all.
hate this show.
This is a bad show.
Of all the shows I hate, this is the one I hate the most, and it's mine.
and it's yours.
Yeah.
But other people like it, I guess. And
Yeah, there's no accounting for taste.
And if they do, sometimes they decide that we have earned not only an hour of, or more of their time a week,
Yes.
but also a little bit of their hard-earned money. So we have some folks to thank. They are the wind beneath our wings, and I'm going to thank them now. So thanks go to Daniel Charles,
Thank you, Daniel Charles.
David,
Thank you, David.
Les,
Thank you, Les.
and David.
No, thank you more.
Yeah, more or less, more or less, you get some thanks.
Let's just do more.
Quickly, Uncle Doug, I forgot to give David his saint. So David, please hold while Uncle Doug tells involves the spirits. and
Pierce
tells
through
you
the veil.
who your saint is.
Let me get my third eye open.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm
indeed.
rubbing my third eye.
That's not your eye.
He calls it his third eye.
Yeah.
It's the brown one.
We're gonna have to
Please continue.
I said
Cleanse the studio.
It was my third eye, Your Honor. Okay, David, your saint is Saint Florence of China.
Oh,
Town.
Oh, yeah.
Chinatown.
Chinatown.
St. Florence of Chinatown. Yeah.
The New York Chinatown only.
Okay.
Right.
And Florence is the patron saint of accidents in boats,
Oh,
Yeah.
injuries of the knee,
Okay.
and Thursdays.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody's got a case of the Thursdays.
Yeah. Good.
All right.
Good job.
Excellent.
St. Florence and Dave.
And I believe we're going to give. Is it me or you, Mark?
I think it's me.
Okay, Mark, you have to give a saint to Eli Bosnick's favorite sex friend.
Didn't this person already give us? But I swear we did this one. No.
There's another Eli Bosnick reference.
So, yeah, somebody else. Well, Eli has a lot of sex friends.
Swimming upstream in it.
Yeah, he's a hot piece of ass. So your saint, Eli, person, is obviously Saint Robotussa of Monrovia,
Yeah.
naturally, who is the patron saint of chamber music, launch vehicles, and Imelda Marcos.
Wow.
Yeah,
Just picture the shoes.
The shoes
Yep.
have their own patron saint.
Yeah,
well,
not,
they have several.
Not those.
they have
It's
several.
just her.
Just Imelda Marcos, and kind of at her best, which is how we all want to think about her. So, so boy, thanks to all those people, and
All of you, yes. Thank you
especially
so
the
much.
ones who are a little poorer because of us. We thank you so much. If you can't give any of the cash, or even if you've given cash, and
Wait. Before you say that,
yeah,
if you can give money, you very much ought to give us money.
yes,
And the way that you would do that is to go to the How to Heretic webpage, howtoheretic.com.
hit support us.
Hit support us.
Yeah,
And then you can choose the level at which you give.
go get mommy's credit card while she's in a drunken stupor, and just give till it hurts.
Yeah.
And as Dan cut me off saying before, because I got ahead of myself, whether you can or not give money, you still have an internet connection. We know that because you're listening. Give us 5 stars anywhere that'll take it.
I haven't checked, but we're so close to that 500 reviews.
We've
on
passed
iTunes.
450 of 5 stars. We love all 450
We
of
didn't
you.
mention that the 500th 5-star review gets two free tickets to Hawaii.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned that because of.
should have mentioned
it's
that
not
before.
quite true.
It's not quite true.
It's almost true.
Hawaii, Arkansas.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's on Eastern Airlines. So,
It's on TWA.
yeah.
Let's-
So, enough of this bullshit. Thanks, everybody. You're wonderful. Do what you can, and we'll keep doing what we do.
we love your faces.
Thank
and
you.
we're moving on. Uncle Doug,
Uncle Mark.
is there anything more satisfying in this world than trespassing onto people's property and bothering them during dinner with something they don't want? What can be more satisfying than that?
Doing it during breakfast.
What?
Ah,
Yeah. There you go.
Yep.
yeah. Or when they're making whoopee.
The whoopee.
Yeah.
Hey, I was thinking about the fact that we three have been on the God Awful Movies podcast a time or four,
Yes.
and
There was actually a little competition.
yeah.
The Piat Pod, their guy who does their social media, said that we were neck and neck with that fucker Thomas and his buddy. So I don't care for it. So
I don't like it.
Yeah.
So vote for us.
yeah.
I'm going to say we won. I don't know if we did or not, but
We definitely did.
Well, because I said live shows count as 2.
Oh, okay.
this is the world we live in. We won. I don't care if it's true or
That's
not.
right.
Anywho, 2 of the times that we appeared, episode 200, where Doug and I talked about the best 2 years, and episode 180, where we talked about the movie Silence.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That was just you and me, Mark, right?
And that was about the Portuguese.
you weren't in that, right?
I was not in that one.
That was the illegal Portuguese missionaries in Japan.
Right. Both about missionary work.
And we also talked about God's Army 2.
We did God's Army too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
We have talked about missionaries so much on other people's shows.
Yep.
Yeah.
So let's talk about missionaries on our show.
I love it.
I often think about going back in time and finding 20-year-old elder me
Yes.
in Honduras pounding the pavement and just kind of whispering in his ears, it's going to be worth it someday. Not for the reasons you think.
Yeah, exactly. We'll mine it as deep as it goes. Isn't it great that 19-year-old you is called elder?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And now 18-year-old you
Yeah.
can be done.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, let's talk a little bit about it. First of all, we should say that there's lots of different kinds of missionary work. But the main thing is so Christians are the ones who do the most of it. And look, I get it. if you think that you have the truth, the eternal truth, and it has eternal consequences for everybody, you probably should try to share that message with people. Like, you'd be a dick not to, right?
Right.
That's at least what they always say.
Yeah, I mean, I actually don't understand when a group doesn't proselytize when they have a religious cosmology.
Right.
I'm looking at you, Jews. What's up with that?
Yeah.
What, you're so chosen and I'm not? Why not? What's so wrong about me? I'm circumcised. Anyway, missionaries...
He is. I can see it right now.
Yes, indeed.
It's very tight pants. Dan's in his cabana wear, and it holds nothing back.
Try to contain your joy.
Yeah.
So, look, missionaries of all Christian creeds abound. Many of them cite passages in the Bible. For instance, the book of Matthew has Jesus telling his followers to make disciples of all nations.
Matthew 10, right?
Fuck if I know.
Yeah.
It's in there somewhere. Anyway, look, according
It's in 2
to
Corinthians. It's the whole ball game.
that's right.
2 Corinthians.
According to the U.S. Center for the Study of Global Christianity, yeah, that exists.
Boy, are they hiring?
There were 440,000 Christian missionaries working abroad in 2018.
Jesus Christ.
Just from the United States, or just...
I think just from the U.S.
good Lord.
And then Mormon missionaries account for in 1 year for nearly 66,000 worldwide.
So why do so many countries have a negative opinion of us?
Weird, right? It doesn't seem possible.
We send either cruise missiles or shitty kids to tell you you're doing everything wrong.
Yeah, well, we figure it out.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk about like Westerners proselytizing to non-Westerners, which we won't go into all of the racist colonialist sort of nonsense contained in that phrasing.
Yeah.
But these days, really, we should probably talk about Northerners and Southerners, because so much of this shit is Europeans and North Americans bothering the people of Africa and South America.
Yeah.
And then sort of Southeast Asia.
The global South, is it's kind of generally known.
Indeed. Nevertheless, the core concept is the same. Don't worry, savages. White people are coming to save you. So there are different kinds of missions.
We have fun.
Hey, I've seen Avatar.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, there are different kinds of missions, which I've named them. First of all, there's ABC, always be converting.
Yeah.
This is the Mormon fundamental directive. It's direct channel marketing. Basically, the primary goal is to be converting people always at all times, and all other efforts are made in service of this. So yes, as you, Doug, when you were out on your mission,
That was me.
you had a single goal.
Yep.
And that was numbers.
That's right.
Yeah.
I wanted those steak knives.
Yeah, exactly. And how many people did you convert in your time out on the? How many baptisms?
Define conversion, exactly.
Right, exactly. I will revamp. How many numbers did you get on the board in terms of baptized people?
Well over 100 people.
Yeah.
And well over. It was like 130 or something,
Yeah,
right?
it was a lot. They say you're not supposed to count, but we all counted.
Well, they say you're not supposed to count, but then as we learned on the movie, like
That's all you do.
it's all you do.
Right.
Yeah.
You literally keep stats for everything when you're a Mormon missionary. Anyway, there's that. Then there's the service style missions, which is sales through service. Right. Basically, it's saying, "Look at how nice we are. Doesn't that prove that our group is great? Shouldn't you really consider our message? Join our club." All of this is about join our club.
Yeah.
But at least the people on the receiving end get something tangible out of it.
At least there's a water system at the end of the day.
We'll talk about that.
Okay.
We'll get to that.
All right.
Then there's the education, which is like, we'll teach you about how the world works, math, reading and writing, history, science, and wait a minute, there's one more thing. Hang on.
Jesus.
Jesus! Which is really the only thing that they want to teach.
Yeah, 2 + 2 = Jesus.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's that, and then there are some other kinds of missions. Those are the main Christian ones. There are things like there's Islamic missionary work. In the U.S., that takes the form mostly, interestingly, historically speaking, of converting African Americans in prison.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah.
This is, of course, the origin story of Malcolm X.
Yep.
It is, and it's a very real thing. And their message is basically, we have common cause. You're using the white man's religion. They're the ones who threw you in here. How about we talk about our thing?
Yeah.
Which I can totally understand getting on board with.
Yeah, there's a logic to that.
Anyway, here's the thing. Missionary work, in spite of Doug's apparent success,
Well, sure.
doesn't really work.
They can't all be rock stars like me, Dan.
Well, and the rock stars like you, of the 100 and some odd people that you baptized,
Yeah.
how many would you guess are attending a Mormon church weekly today?
Less than 0. I would be willing to guess.
Yeah.
Most of them probably don't even know what was happening.
Your other pod partner, maybe you're going to mention this, Frank, spent 2 years in Rome in this endeavor. And
2 years.
And it baptized exactly 0.
You know what?
0 numbers of people.
I would trade with him in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He got malaria also 0 times. So
Yeah.
those are good zeros to get. Look, the vast majority of missionary work is not the 2-year Mormon mission. The vast majority of it seems to be short 1 to 2 week stints. You take a bunch of youth from
Kind
your...
of vacation missionary stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it is problematic.
Yeah.
It's missionary tourism. More
Yeah,
than anything
exactly.
else. Yeah.
And they come looking for a thing to achieve in the time that they're there, and photo ops with natives.
I was about to say,
And,
is a picture with a black child
Right.
an
Yes.
achievement?
It's photo op colonialism.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
100%.
Feel good colonialism.
We're all wearing the same T-shirt. There's a bunch of white people, quote unquote, helping the natives.
Right.
Yeah.
And why would I say quote unquote? That seems disingenuous. They're really trying. Here's the problem. They actually are trying. And I don't want to lose sight of the fact that actually missionary work does a lot of good.
Yeah, and people, even when they fail at whatever, or they're not doing something that it can be successful, can leave with earnest intent. Right?
100%. I don't. This isn't about me questioning the intent of these people, because most of them probably have a kind heart and they really do want to help. You know, they go to Haiti or they go to Africa or they go to Mexico, and they really want to do some good for people who are less lucky than they are.
They're going to say white, but we can go with lucky. That's fine.
Not lucky enough to be white. That's
Yeah.
what I was saying. So the religious private sector spends more than the U.S. government globally on work, for instance, in Africa,
Oh, wow.
in a lot of these places. So it is important to acknowledge that and to say, you know, maybe they're actually doing some good in the world. It's hard to know how much good they're doing because a lot of their work is as much damage as it is good.
Yes,
sometimes
absolutely.
more. Here's the problem. You've got 10 teens and 4 adults that you're going to take to a place. You're going to do a mission, and you're going to go do service. You want to dig a well. So you decide you're going to go to a place. You pick a place. You say, Ecuador. And you say, we're going to dig a well for Ecuador. And most of the time, they don't actually check in with anyone on the ground locally in
Right.
Ecuador. Or if they do, it's somebody running a local mission.
Right.
And they say, hey, we want to go dig a well. Why do you want to dig a well? We don't need a well. Well, we just want to do something that we think
Right.
could
They
be
very
useful.
rarely ask people, what is it you need?
No, they never ask.
What can we do for you?
Right. And the problem
In
is
2 weeks.
they don't exactly.
A bunch of unskilled teenagers who are going to get sunburned and tired and...
Right. 2 weeks of unskilled labor who are all there mostly to take selfies is not going to accomplish much. It can, however, be a useful segment where if you could coordinate these things, you could pipe in another 2 weeks and eventually get something really big done. You could get a project
Sure.
done if you've got someone who's willing to train up every week or
Yeah.
every 2 weeks a new group of people or whatever. Nothing is coordinated like that. That is not how this works.
Right.
It is a hodgepodge of people going out and doing a little bit. This is where the Mormons could really shine.
Yeah.
The Mormons, if they switched from a proselytizing model to a service model, they could do some really intense shit because they actually are the most organized group in the world.
And you're sending out tens of thousands of young men and women that could literally put their back to the wheel.
Yeah.
And
they're
affect some
they're
change.
out there for 2 years.
Two full years.
Unlike your typical evangelical young missionary going for 2 weeks, these kids speak the language to some degree. The Mormon kids. And, in 2 years, you can fucking get a lot done.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So, yes, it's funny, there was a book by a man named John Donnelly called A Twist of Faith, An American Christian's Quest to Help Orphans in Africa, which is funny because the guy in question went out there to help orphans and to build an orphanage, and the government of the African country that he went to was like, we don't need that. Do you want to build a school instead? And he had to pivot, and he actually did the pivot. He stayed there for years, so he actually made it happen. That was great.
Right.
But it's not always that sort of thing. You've got random ding-dongs in the first world. And here's the problem. I don't know if you guys have noticed this. Cultures aren't the same in this world.
Well, that's what they're going to fix, Dan.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
So you got these random guys in the first world with no humility who know better than these stupid villagers. And, they've made good money in their lives. They've been successful in the U.S. or Canada.
They're fully qualified to be white saviors.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
So they know how things work. They know how to make things work. And, these people are poor. How would they know anything?
Right.
They don't know anything. So obviously the expertise that has gotten me to upper middle management for a smallish local bank will translate into making life better for a bunch of African tribes people. That's just science.
As long as I don't ask them what they need or how I can help.
Right.
Or if they even fucking want me in their
And
village.
you're welcome, Africa.
Yeah, exactly. So they do build schools sometimes, or they'll build, a one-room building that will probably fall down soon.
Yeah.
That people can use as a school if they want to. There's a delightful trend that happens with people on the ground in these countries where, and I this is one thing that I read about, which is a guy who coordinates missions in northern Mexico, and what he needs is people to come and bond with and help out this orphanage that they have full of boys and girls who are just really desperate for love and attention.
Yeah.
But love and attention doesn't have a tangible thing that you can go back and say you did. So a lot of groups don't want to do that. What they want is something to build or something to dig or something. So this guy says, and I got this wall. And when a group comes in that can't handle what's required to build relationships with Mexican kids, or insists on completing a task that they can accomplish something, I put them to work on the wall. They feel like they're a big help, and it keeps them out of everyone's hair so the ministry isn't compromised.
Do not tell Donald Trump about this.
Right, yeah, exactly. Missionaries to build his wall. That's what he needs.
Now, I don't know if you're going to talk about this woman who's very much in the news right now, who I think she's being held in Uganda. You know the one I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
A young woman who has decided that she is the savior of Ugandan orphans. No medical training of any kind, and she writes in her diaries about giving IVs, and I saved this baby. Well, they think she's responsible for the death of over 100 children.
Holy shit.
But she's got pictures of herself standing among the pictures of dead children with her arms outspread, like she's in a fucking Creed video.
Right.
And, she is this
Creed, the official band of
millennial white privilege, white savior Instagrammer, and hopefully Uganda will throw her in a hole and throw away the key.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's tricky because,
But again,
they need help. The help is definitely needed.
But so many ill thought through. The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Right.
Right. They need help, and we have resources to offer, but that doesn't mean it shouldn't be planned out and coordinated.
Right. And that's the problem. You always hear about when disaster strikes, when the hurricane hit Haiti, or when an earthquake hits. Good intentioned people don't want to do something so impersonal as giving money to an organization that's already working. So they donate clothes, and then like countless boatloads of clothes go in.
Yeah.
And just sit in a pile because they don't need fucking clothes.
Well, the distribution networks are all fucked up. That's
right,
the problem.
yeah.
So
and they need food, but don't fucking send food
Right.
because
Give
you're
money-
just clogging the
give money
pipeline.
to the Red Cross. 'cause
There
the
are
Red Cross
charities
knows
that
how
have
to do it.
systems, but then the Red Cross is problematic in its own way. But there's systems. People have developed systems to do this, and
Right.
so the last thing that a place like Haiti after a fucking earthquake or Southeast Asia after the tsunami needs is more mouths to feed.
Right, yeah.
They don't need a bunch of white kids showing up, right, who've never worked a day in their lives, getting heat stroke, and
Singing I Am Africa.
yeah, exactly, and needing to be fed and housed. Stay the fuck out of the way.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, and give money.
Well,
Yes.
and let's, I'm sure we're going to talk about this, but that's all of this is assuming that the intentions are to spread the gospel to those people.
Right.
Right.
And that is the goal. And so one of the things that ends up happening, like in Haiti, one plane lands supplied with fucking Bibles,
Yeah.
Right.
takes up space in an airway
Yeah.
to give books
Right.
to people who are hungry.
Yeah.
You fucking
And
turds.
sick and severely injured and displaced, and that's not what they need.
Right. Yeah. Thanks for
Unless
this.
it's cold where the Bibles are being sent to, and then in that case they might have a use.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed. And it's so true.
Unless they have a book-shaped wound that only a Bible can staunch the bleeding of.
right.
There's literally no reason to give them a Bible.
Right.
Yeah. It's so disingenuous and so bullshit.
And cynical.
And cynical. And although you can't accuse the individuals of cynicism. You know what I mean? Again,
I can accuse them of not using critical thinking skills
right.
to really see if what they're doing is a good that is benefiting a human life on the ground.
Here's the problem with that, and this is my experience. I'm sure we'll talk about this, but it's why you shouldn't go at missionaries in a dickish way you see on the street, no matter what religion they are. This is the least likely moment in their lives that you're going to convince them that they're wrong.
Oh, yeah. You're not going to
right.
get anything through to them.
They're in the shit. They're in the trenches right
Yeah.
now. And they see them, they're out walking in their spacesuits in a hostile world.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not going to convince them right now.
They know they are called by God
Yes.
to be in this
Well,
place.
and part of the reason that I chose this topic was a very interesting thing. I sent it to you
You
guys.
did. We read that. Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
was a fascinating sort of roundup of it. Basically, somebody had posted online somewhere, why do people get so annoyed with me when I try to share the gospel with them? Don't they see that I'm trying to do it out of love?
right.
And this person said, oh, no. It was designed, this missionary work is designed for you to annoy them. And the reason for that is that your annoyance of them makes them get caustic with you. And you're supposed to feel that. And you're supposed to feel uncomfortable, and you're supposed to feel rejected out in the world, because then when you come back to your flock, when you come back to your people, and they embrace you and they hail you as a hero for your work out
For your
in the
suffering.
world,
Yeah.
you are now more fully entrenched in the tribe. You are now inured into the groupthink.
Right.
It's radicalizing the converted rather than converting the
Yeah, and
the
they-
It
outsider.
serves the in-group, not the out-group.
If they happen to convert somebody, which almost no missionary work does,
Bonus, yeah.
really, that's great. That also inures you further into the in-group thinking. But to your point, Doug, I think it's a terrible idea to go up and attack a missionary person, or to be like, aha, I have all of these.
Yeah.
I have a list of 1,000 reasons why you're wrong.
It's not going to work, and it literally might be counterproductive.
It's literally going to do the opposite,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is it's going to make them think, oh, see, they're of the world. These are the people I was warned about. Everything about that I've learned about is correct.
I'm glad you're talking about this subject, because I had a talk with Doug a while ago where I was saying there's got to be a way we can figure out, just from the Mormon perspective, what the cost of a convert is. How much a mission costs, how much the infrastructure. It's not just what the family of the kid pays. It's the infrastructure of the mission. It's the ward houses, the mission presidency, the apartment costs, transportation, whatever bribes, as Fred Karger once said, that they're paying to the government because missionaries typically don't get visas.
Right.
Right, to be in a country for 2 years. that's got to be an enormous cost. But if you look at it through that lens, that the point isn't the conversion.
No.
Right.
Because, Mormon, I would assume, what would you guys, just stupid guess, the average missionary, how many converts? 10?
I would guess less. I would guess the average.
I mean,
would be
it
less.
depends on where they go, right? If
Right.
they go to a developing country, they'll get more converts,
But who tend to stay less.
they won't stay.
Yeah.
And they definitely, even if they stay, aren't a revenue source for the church.
Well,
Like,
and John
they're-
DeLynn talked about this on his podcast about this missionary work that he at one point. It's the quality of the converts, and the quality it's not a racial issue. Quality meaning that
they stay.
They stay and they attend church, they answer callings, they pay tithing.
Right.
So if the metric is quality conversions,
It's tiny.
very, very few.
Very tiny.
Right. Some people are like, oh, you know what? I like you guys. I'm interested. If I have to get baptized to go to church, I'll do it.
So look,
Yeah.
we're guessing
But
it's
3 months later, I'm not going.
let's guess it's $10,000, $20,000 per convert.
Sure.
Then the point clearly is not about the conversion, right?
Right. Yeah. Those are terrible numbers.
Yeah.
The point is to keep people in.
And to do it in the Mormon perspective again, and the evangelical youth groups,
Right.
that age is the age when your mind should be expanding. You should be doing interesting stuff.
Questioning
You're
things,
questioning.
yes.
You're trying shit. You're going to have your first three-way. You're going to meet a black guy. You're
Yeah,
going to smoke
you
weed.
should be going to college,
Yeah.
exploring different people's thoughts.
You're going to read a poem, and it's going to blow your fucking mind.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but the point is to prevent all that, to create a situation where you are stuck with this fucking stranger 24/7.
Yeah.
And you live this monastic life at that critical age, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely, and I don't know, the different religions sending out these people. I don't know what their success rates are outside of the Mormon Church, but the Mormon Church is one of the more aggressive ABC missions. So you know what I
Yeah.
mean. They probably have more success in that because that's their emphasis than many other
Yeah,
religions.
they are on the hard sell.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
It is a door-to-door hard sale job.
Yep.
It's 6 days a week, right?
It's 6.5.
It's
my God.
shocking how many of it's not shocking. It's very, very clear how many how many Mormons come back and that from their mission and then make good money as actual door-to-door hard salesmen
Right.
for various
Yeah.
door-to-door
Yeah.
companies. One of the things that's interesting, following on something you said, Doug, is that one of the big things that happens is that there's this sort of confirmation bias that occurs, and missionaries frequently see success where there was not success.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of missionaries who had experiences like you, Doug, and maybe not quite the cynical attitude, Douglas, elder. And you and they come back thinking I was a very successful missionary and I helped the Lord. You know what I mean? But
they can also-
I read
Sorry.
an account of a guy who was in Washington D.C. He spent an afternoon at a homeless shelter, and he was like, "Oh, what a great day!" There's a quote. "We handed out tracts and witnessed to dozens of guys, and at least 10 men accepted Christ." Well, maybe. Or maybe 10 guys were like,
Whatever I have to say.
whatever I have to say to end this awkward
Sure, dude.
conversation.
Or as is often the case with those kind of Christian missions, I said whatever I had to say to get a fucking meal.
Yeah, exactly.
That the Salvation Army does that.
Because so many shelters are run by Christians.
Yes.
And you kind of just have to go with whatever it is.
And if
they
you're
say.
starving, fucking do it.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. Feel free to say whatever you got to say to get a meal.
Yeah, exactly.
But these people who feel successful have not succeeded.
And I think there can be a sense of success in failure.
Yeah.
To come back and say, I went out into the wicked world. I was called to Belgium.
Yeah.
Right. And they are so wicked and they're so liberal that I didn't convert a single one, but I fought the fight and I carried the torch.
That's absolutely right. In a lot of
Yeah.
cases, finishing your mission is the accomplishment.
right. And
sticking
getting
through
doors
it.
slammed in your face is the
Yeah.
accomplishment,
Well-
which goes back to the point isn't to convert.
No.
It's radicalization.
Absolutely not.
That's a byproduct if it happens.
If it happens.
It's Rumspringa. Yeah.
It's reverse Rumspringa.
Yeah.
Well, but Rumspringa, most of the kids who go on Rumspringa return to the church. So if you don't know what Rumspringa is, we're talking about in the Anabaptist, on Amish community particularly, there's a point where teenagers they go from horse and buggy, being a fucking Amish, museum piece, to do whatever you want, kid.
Go out into the world, try drugs, try
drinking.
sex.
Go out among the English and do whatever the fuck you want.
Mm-hmm.
And these kids have no frame of reference for what that world is.
Right.
And
They
no coping skills.
overconsume, and they
get completely overwhelmed,
Yep.
completely fucked out of their minds,
strung out, hungover, and
And
terrified.
they come running back.
and they come running back.
It's the system set up to fail.
Right.
It's the same logic, though. Is to
Exactly.
radicalize.
Yeah, it's to capture a mind that is not ready for what it's about to experience.
It's like it's exposure therapy, but in the wrong direction.
and it's a brainwashing technique. There's no such
Absolutely.
thing as actual brainwashing, but it is a technique of capturing the brain into a headspace that they control.
Yeah.
And then hopefully holding onto that brain for the rest of their lives, because this was because that's how it's designed.
Right.
I don't know if we have time to talk about this, but I've thought long and hard about what I would do if the Mormon missionaries came to the door. I'm less so with JW missionaries, Jehovah's Witnesses, because they tend to live in the community. They're not professional, sent abroad missionaries generally. But I think, speaking to the humanity of these children who have a shitty job, if you just look at it as a job, it's terrible.
Yes.
Right? You live in a shit apartment, you're eating terrible food if you're eating enough, and they generally aren't. People slam doors in your faces. Nobody wants what you're selling. I want to try this. I want to open the door and say, guys, come on in. Here's what I'm proposing.
Just your robe is kind of hung open.
Like
right?
I do when I answer the door. My robe's generally quite short, so it leaves nothing to the imagination.
Doesn't need to be open. It's just,
So say, come in. This can be an hour or 2 hours that are not on your clock.
right.
I don't want what you're selling. I'm not selling anything to you, but there's the TV. Here's my laptop. Put your feet up. You want something cold to drink? That's great. I'll make some food. We don't have to talk about anything. This never happened. You can leave after 2 hours. You can walk out of here and tell somebody that I was interested. I don't give a shit.
Right.
But you can just be a human being for a couple hours outside of this crazy situation. I don't know if they'd go for it.
I don't know that they would. I
Well,
don't.
remember, there's two of them, and they're there to
And
police each other.
And it's snitch
Right.
based.
Yeah.
It's
But I want to offer it.
right.
Because I think the milk of human kindness is so much more effective than hitting him over the head with your version of the Bible, right?
And also, I have a bathroom all the way upstairs that we can't hear.
Yeah.
So go up and do whatever you got to do up there.
Exactly
You need to
right.
Use the bathroom.
And here's
just clean up after yourself.
right.
use the laptop, clear your internet history after. I don't have to know what you've been doing.
Right.
No
yeah.
man knows my internet history.
That's my new hashtag for Mormon porn consumers, which is enormous. No man knows my search history.
Well, there you go, fellas. I think in the end, I can't declare it more harm than good, but I can certainly say it's a contender.
Yeah.
I think the real knock against it is a loss of potential. That this could be a force for good in the world, and it is failing at least at what it could be.
Right. So, you know what? There are secular groups that actually organize really good trips that are similar, that go out and help third world countries, help the developing world.
Yeah.
You can join one of them.
Yeah.
And you can do that work, and you don't have to say Jesus one time.
Amnesty International and
There's a great
Doctors
group
Without
that's
Borders.
Peace Corps. I don't
Peace
know.
Corps.
You know.
A great group that's emerged in Africa on the tail of this horrible woman that killed all these babies, called No More White Saviors. You can look them up. They're talking about send money to these organizations on the ground that know what people need, know what they're doing.
Right.
Stay home.
Yeah.
Come as a tourist, but don't fuck around with people's lives.
Spend your tourist dollars there.
Yeah.
That's great. That can help out.
Yep. Go see the pyramids, do your thing, go on a safari, but
But yeah.
don't assume you know better than the people who live there what the fuck they need.
Right. All right. I think that's good.
We solved it.
Let's move on.
Well, friends, that's it for this week's show.
Hey, we'd love to hear from you. Send us an email, howto@howtoheretic.com.
Or if you were one of the many people who shot Joseph Smith, we'd love you to leave us a voicemail about it at 903-88-HOW-TO, which is 903-884-6986. I'm also on Twitter at HowToHeretic.
Thanks to our patrons.
Thanks to Cody Layton for editing the show.
And thank all of you for tuning in, you great bags of goodness.
Beautiful bastards.
Bye, friends.